All right. Well, we are back at it, guys. First, just like every day, let me have a look and see if we are streaming on all the platforms. Just a second. Twitch is coming online. Yeah, we have D Live streaming on D Live. Welcome, guys. YouTube, yes, let's have a look at YouTube. What's YouTube doing? YouTube is functional. All right, we're there. We're back on all the major platforms. How are you guys doing? Well, today we do see quite some excitement. First of all, I would like to start with a recap of where we ended up yesterday. So, if you remember, yesterday we were piercing through this channel. I said that there was a stronger case for the bulls as we tested this edge of the volume node here, and we started to pierce back through. So what happened yesterday? We saw a great, amazing pump, and I also said that if we were going to pump up, I was expecting at least some resistance around this area. We got like, excuse me, we got like quite a rejection here that you can see on this long wick here. And finally we closed on the orange horizontal line that we have been testing again and again as support. Now today, this morning, what happened? As I said, if we would have seen this major pump, my advice was to wait and see where the support was going to lie in case of just a straight failed rejection and, you know, crossing back down. Also, the area where we find support was also going to be an indicator of what the future might bring. Right now, we are literally in an uptrend. We are making higher highs. Of course, nothing goes up forever. And today, we saw a last try to the upside because, as I said, once we have a rejection, we usually have a retest of the area. And after that, we even had a retest higher, and we closed here on the resistance line that we drew like quite some while ago. So all these things just played out right now. We still see some upward momentum, but when we start looking at the RSI, now the question is, are we going to form a lower high on the RSI, or are we going to pierce through, are we going to push through and negate the whole bearish scenario? In that case, things are looking really good. We might see a little bit of a pullback, but nothing bad to be afraid of. And then it's just about, you know, buying the dip, as they say. Now, how are we going to measure this? As you know, I'm a big fan of pigs as indicator, and we're just going to use it right now. First of all, let's go to the 1 hour chart, because as you guys know, I like to go from the lower time frames all the way up to the higher time frames, because lower time frames show us maybe a little more detail on the shorter term, while the higher time frames are actually more of an indication on the long-term trend and what's to be expected after all that. Okay, so let's have a look and see which levels we need to break in order not to have a bearish signal. Okay, so we're thinking about this high with this high on the RSI. Let me mark them so you can see them more clearly. This one and this one. The read on the RSI is quite high. We're sitting at 88.4. So in order to not have a bearish signal from those two highs, we will need to break 88.4. I already had it entered, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be way up there. Yeah, so in order not to have a bearish signal, we would have to go above 12,779.3, so 12,779.2. Right now we're sitting at 11,844. 12,000. Whoopsie, I keep doing this. Guys, if you know of a hotkey to go back to the selection item, just tell me, because I keep messing up. So 12,779. Let's just mark it off with a with a horizontal line. Let's do like this. There we go. And now let's zoom out just a little bit so we can see actually how far away this is, because it's quite ways away. So 12,779 would literally be above all the highs that we've seen in the past on the shorter term. Well, this is the winter area. This is oh no, this is last summer. So the high of last summer, let's say August 17th. So 12,779, we would have to push all the way through to 12,700, above all the previous highs. Is this possible? Sure, it's perfectly possible. If we look on the larger picture, you can see that the volume profile is actually getting really thin. Now, the only thing that is for now speaking against the possibility, in my book, is just that I'm not sure we're gonna have the momentum to push all the way up. Of course, stranger things have happened. This is the land of magic internet money, and you know, there's no rules. We might see in the near future, like the very near future, a strong move from the bulls and just shatter all the previous highs. I've seen YouTubers make boldly claims that by the end of the year we're gonna hit 20,000. Is this possible? Basically, yeah. If we start breaking above the previous highs, then on the macro scale there is not a lot that's holding us back. The previous high here was at 12,473. I marked off 12,100 because already here we are starting to get into thin air. But for now, I'm still not sure that the whole hand has been played. What I would rather be expecting, because right now we are setting up for a little tiny bearish divergence, I think we would rather be seeing a little bit of a pullback, build up some momentum, so that people who took profit are able to reaccumulate, and then we would be able to start pushing up. Because on this smaller picture, I'm gonna try to draw it out. On the smaller picture from this formation, we start seeing a rising channel. And if you guys have been following me, then you should already know that I believe rising channels have more chance to break to the downside, whether we are just moving sideways and stepping out of the channel, or we could just have like a strong rejection and be pushed down to lower support areas. Now, what's also concerning is the large wick on this area here. I'm gonna try to zoom it out. so you guys are able to see it more clearly. This large wick, the red candle actually forming a dead mall candle. I don't know if this is already an accepted term, but a lot of people like to use it. This dark mall candle shows only a very, very strong indecision. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys have another way to read this, or if you interpret this signal differently, feel free to leave your comments in the chat. I like to keep this an open discussion, so yeah, I'm still happy to hear where I'm wrong and how I can correct myself. But in my book, having such a long wick on the top and the bottom shows indecision. This means that there is a lot of buying pressure and still a lot of selling pressure. There's been a lot of people here taking their profits, probably longers on this area, people who longed here. Eventually you want to take profit, and this is the name of the game. If you see that you're in profit, don't hold on to the hot potato too long, because there's going to be at least somebody else who thinks about taking profit as well. Yeah. Now, as we progress, this green candle keeps pushing up and up. Probably we might see a retest of the upper area of this channel. And on the other hand, if we manage to break and close above the green channel, which is also a rising channel but on a very, very longer term, so those kind of read differently. But if we start closing above the green channel in this area here, then we might actually find some strong support on the 12,100 area, probably, maybe a little bit lower here on this node at about the 12,000 area. We could find some support and then finally manage to break up to the upside. Perfectly possible, but for now this is only some idea that could play out. Keep in mind that we still have the bearish divergence, the potential, because it's not confirmed yet, but the potential bearish divergence that could start coming into play, because we do have a higher high here compared to this one, and on RSI we do have a lower high. Okay, now let's not be too premature about all these things. Stochastics are actually indecisive. They also show that right now it's going to be hard to predict exactly what's going to happen, because as you can see, they keep snaking and snaking and snaking. Right now they are angled to the upside, so that confirms that right now we are seeing some upward momentum, and you can also see this on price action. But since they are starting to narrow, the blue line and the orange line is starting to narrow, we could potentially also see a turnaround and then start going down again. But this is more longer term stuff, so we're gonna have to move up to the higher time frames. Let's have a look at the 3-hour time frame, because I do like the 3-hour time frame just because of its weird nature in closing in respect to the 2-hour, 4-hour and 12-hour candles. On the 3-hour time frame, we do see that this long wick and this long wick show a lot of selling pressure. Now, possibly there's been quite some buying pressure. Obviously, there's been quite some buying pressure coming from the area of the orange support line here. We keep pushing up, and if we manage to break above 11,943, we might first see a retest of the channel, and then everything is to be played out there. Now on RSI, we do see that the 3-hour the 3-hour candle is actually already pushing over the RSI level. So if we manage to close at these highs already, we could completely negate every kind of bearish signal, expect a nice continuation, and then just safely buy the dip. Okay, of course, if we start closing lower, then we do potentially start to form a bearish divergence, and then it's the entire downside here with the different levels at 11,560, even lower 11,424, 11,420, just because I love the number. And if all these levels break, maybe even a retest of the lower channel, the orange trend line, the upper side of this downward slope, or on the long term we could even break down lower. So a lot is to be played right now in the coming 2 hours, and the closing of this candle and maybe also the way the next candle closes are going to be key elements to confirm or deny actually what's about to happen. So now, just as a little mental game, we do want to know which high we need to stay above in order to not have a bearish signal here. So the high on the RSI here is reading 78.33. Now let's have a look and enter this into Pig's indicator. What did I say? 78 point. Yeah, 78.33. So in order not to be bearish, not to have a bearish signal, price needs to stay above 11,873, 74, 875, let's call it, because as you can see, as long as price is moving, this is actually a function of the buying power over the selling power. And there's also like a little bit of price being put into the factoring. So right now, let's call it 11,875, just to be clear. And we are actually right on the cusp of this. As you can see, 11,872, we might get a bearish signal. If we close a little bit higher, it might just be continuation. So right now, as we are in the middle of the channel, in the middle of the range, this is, like I always say, this is the worst time to open a position. So if you're trigger happy, keep your hands off the keyboard. It's no go, do not touch. First, we need to see where we will find resistance or support on the downside, and this is going to be an indicator whether we are going to see more ranging up, or maybe if it's time to start looking for a little bit of a rebound and take a short and ride it all the way down. Okay, but all this is up to you. I want you guys to do your own analysis before you enter a trade. I'm just showing you how to do this. Now let's move up to the higher time frames, because the higher time frames are going to help us clear out a little bit more of a long-term momentum and see what future could bring us. Now, on this high here, I'm going to start marking it off again. This high here, we are forming a new high on the RSI. It's looking really, really strong. This was a strong move because we broke out of a channel. This was actually to be expected. But how far can we go? How high can we go? Reaching the top of the green channel in my book would already be like a strong move and a good point to start thinking about cooling down a little bit so people who took profit can safely start to look and search for new entry points if those entry points keep showing bullishness. So let's have a look and see what kind of highs we need to reach in order to negate this area here. Now, as I told yesterday, having a higher high on the RSI in the beginning of a formation that started with a higher high and then lower highs, as we can see here, it's always hard to tell how strong the validity of this read is going to be, because you could argue basically that this bearish momentum has already played out, and for quite some it did, but still I like to keep it in the back of my mind, especially because on the 1 hour time frame we do potentially see a new bearish short-term signal. So these two could actually confirm a larger signal with this area. So let's have a look. I say a lot of so. It's general so right now. Today we are in general so mode. Let's have a look. This high is sitting at 79.3. So we would need to close our candle, our 6 hour candle. We still have a lot of time to go, so a lot can be played out here. We would need to close above 79.3. Right now we are sitting at 77.22. Let's enter 79.3. Where would that set us? 11,941. This is well within the range. The higher resistance right here, I'm not gonna make the same mistake. The higher resistance right here is sitting at 11,947. What did I say? 11,943. And we need to break 11,941. So basically this is possible. This is perfectly possible, but for now this is the make or break moment. This is the moment that we're just watching closely and waiting to see what's going to happen. Do we close lower and do we start seeing a red candle form? Then I would just wait for a retest of the lower area. If this doesn't show any bullish divergence on the shorter term, then wait for the upside, the retest that's gonna be lower, and start looking for a short. If, on the other hand, we start closing above, we could see continuation. We could just see more and more and more upside. This is perfectly possible, but with the RSI being already so high up there, I do think that this would just be a signal that the new high is formed. We could wait for the rejection, the retest of the lower areas, which could be here at the orange area, which could be sitting here on the node, and then start looking for a long position. Now, I know this is a lot of ifs and when, because this is trading, this is day trading, this is the sport. We do not have a clear picture of what's going to happen for the future. The only thing we can do is think about the possibilities, just like in chess. Start thinking 1 or 2 steps ahead and then getting ready to set up for your position. So I strongly suggest you guys to do that too. On the higher term, the 6 hour, we also see that the stochastics are in the bullish control zone, which is pretty good. and as you know, they can keep snaking up there for quite some while. But if we actually start seeing a rejection of the bullish control zone, getting closer to the blue line here, that for me would be a confirmation that we are going to see a little more down than we were expecting before. On the support side, I'm gonna have to adjust this line a little more to correspond with these lows. That will be about the best we can do. We have two touches here, so if we start moving down, I do believe that such an angle could serve well as to find a confirmation where we find support. Of course, do not trade off of your indicators, just read them as confirmation for what you see on the price action. Price keeps moving up. Is it moving up? No, it's moving down. Right now we're at 11,896. So as you can tell, a lot can happen. This candle will only close in 5 hours and 4 minutes, so don't be too hasty. If you really want to see more, just go to the lower time frames. Maybe those can help you find a little more of where price is going to start finding its rejection, if and when it does. But yeah, for now, I think within the range of this channel is the red channel, I think, is where it's going to be played for now. Unless, of course, we break the green line, and then, of course, the plan changes. You know, like the Borgs say, we must adapt. Let's go up to the higher time frames, and let's have a look at what the 12-hour and the dailies are doing. So for the 12-hour, we can see that we are right on the cusp of this large node of volume. And as I said before, as soon as we start breaking above these areas, this is where thin air is coming into play. This is where the big moves, the strong reactions can actually become a fact. Right here, in this muddy area, there's always going to be quite some bounces, some rejections, some support. But once we move above this, this is where we are really going to see continuation and a lot of follow-up. The stochastics are angled way up, almost like a strong erection. But this trend line here, as it has already been tested a few times, could serve as a gauge to measure where we are going to start turning around. And like I always say, especially in these areas, nothing just goes forever. Okay, even if we start breaking above this entire node, there are going to be pullbacks. If you're longing there and you start seeing it go up, expect pullbacks. Maybe take some profit left and right, buy the dip on the way down, and since then we will be in price discovery mode. The only thing that will actually be able to be some sort of indicator is going to be the RSI that you need to learn to read as well as possible. Well, on the 12-hour, right now we're on the 12-hour. On the 12-hour, we can see that this area has been tested quite a lot in the past. So we need to expect right here to be a lot of people waiting to take profit. It's just because this area has been tested, they will be looking at the same chart and they will be thinking the same thing. They will be thinking other people are going to think about taking profit. So as the herd mentality grows around this area, I'm pretty sure, I'm let's not use this word because I don't like it. I do expect a lot of people over here to be taking profit. And we can also confirm this on the long wicks that we have been seeing right now already. Usually, this kind of wick is called a doji, and this is actually a signal of a reversal pattern. Now, did we see a reversal? Actually, not for now. But it does not mean that other traders are not going to keep their eye on this. So this is another reason why I really do think that this area here, for now, is going to be the ceiling where we are going to bounce off of, and then we will be setting up for the next move. Whether we close high enough and we'll be able to see a bigger move to the upside, or we will start seeing some pushback, some more pushback, and then just a little more pulling back to the downside. Both things are possible. Keep your eyes open for the signals that are going to come out now in the near future. Let's have a look at the daily chart, which is actually going to confirm exactly everything what we've been saying. I think. Let's have a look. On the daily, RSI right now is sitting at 79 point. Oh, no. That's not the one. RSI is sitting at 71.95. Compared to this area, we just have continuation. Nothing bad to be spoken of. But on these areas here, especially this one here, let me mark them off, and also this one, we do start encountering a little bit of trouble. Now this area here is not a problem because this is a lower high than this one, but right here, as I said, it depends on how people interpret it, but we do have a higher high sitting on the RSI here. Like I said before, you might argue that the real dump happened here and that this is completely to be negated. So if we only look at this area here, basically there are no problems. There is just a continuation, nice continuation. We see that we hit the upper side of that channel, and if the channel doesn't break, then we could see a little bit of retracing, maybe over the next week or so, and have a retest of these areas, making a higher low compared to this one. And then we move up again. Possible. Now what's also possible is that we actually keep pushing up, or actually no, there's a third possibility. There is a third possibility. There's always another one. We could come down and make a higher low compared to this area, which would actually give us a bounce on either this one. I don't think this one. No, let's call it this one. I think this is the one. We could see a bounce on this line find some support, and then start pushing up again. Let's see, just as a mental game, what kind of read on the RSI we would get from a... oh, I was too eager. Now this is actually interesting. Zooming in, you know that the volume profile also gives us a point of control, which is the strongest point of interaction between sellers and buyers. And as I zoomed in a little bit, and even a little bit more, this area here actually corresponds with the green line that I've just drawn. So this is actually very, very interesting. And we're sitting at 11,3055. So just let's enter 11,355 and let's see what this gives us. Oh, not this one. All right, so 11,355 would give us an RSI of, I don't know if you can see this, 54.8. Let's call it 55. No, let's call it 54.8, because what we want to see if price reaches this area is whether we are going to make a lower low on the RSI compared to this area here, because this would be a higher low. And if RSI manages to close lower than this point, this point here, let me open this up a little bit more. If we manage to close above this little peak here, then we are going to see some bullish signals popping out of this area. So just let's have a look. How high is this sitting? So this one is sitting at 59.15, and my memory is completely crap. How much was this? If we touch the green line here, we would see a lower low on the RSI of 54.8 compared to a low of 59, was it? 59.15. So basically this would be a really good thing. We did manage to retest the high of this green channel. We could see a little bit of pullback during the entire week and then set up for the races, because then we start having a very, very strong setup for a nice big breakout to the upside. Last thing I want to look at before we start rounding this up, because I think this one is very important as well. On the volume, we do see this trend line that I've been drawing for quite some while now, and we're getting really, really, really close to completion of this formation. As I said, eventually the more narrow this gets and the more this formation gets filled out, the stronger the reaction eventually is going to be. And if we look at the charts the way they are setting up right now, this could signal for the big move being more to the upside than chances would be to the downside. So like I said, you know, it's a game of thinking about the possibilities, thinking about what signals could imply said scenario, and then as time goes by, start narrowing down until you zero in on the solution and or the scenario that remains. So basically right now there is a stronger case, and the case for the bulls is getting stronger as time goes by. But right now the next 6-hour candles are the ones that are going to confirm or negate this entire scenario. Remember, if we close above what did I say, 11.9, I completely lost it. Let's just do the calculation again. 90, 77. There we go. So if we manage to close above 11,000, let's call it 11,900 just to keep it simple. If we close this 6-hour candle above 11,900, there is no signal for a bearish momentum to be initiated, and then I believe this scenario could actually start coming more and more into play. On the other hand, if we start closing lower, then of course we are expecting a lower low, and then we need to keep looking at the RSI, following the trend down, and see where we are going to start to form bullish signals again. Of course, because we will be moving down, there are going to be bounces along the way, so don't freak out. Even if right now you didn't get the top, if we start moving down, there's gonna be a bounce, a rejection where you can enter your short, a bounce down, and so on and so on. So this is the scenario to the downside. We have a scenario for the upside. We do have signals and triggers that we want to keep our eyes on. So I think for now you guys should be set to start looking for your own positions, to start measuring out whether you find a good spot, a good entry spot or not. And of course, make sure you stay safe. Before we end the chat, of course, I want to go over the major markets and of course the dollar strength, see what the dollar is doing. Like I said yesterday, the dollar was looking pretty bearish. We were going to see some continuation, and same thing implies what happens. We have a lower low here, followed by a lower low on the RSI. We had a bounce, retest of the horizontal, and of course we're bouncing back further. For now there are no signals of a reversal, so basically on the longer term I do expect the dollar to be keeping this trend until the opposite pops up. E-mini futures is actually being a little bit flaky right now. We did see some bullish signals coming from these lows, making a low and a higher low. Of course, we had a retest of the lower area, but we still did not break those lows to negate the bullish momentum. So we could see a lot more down before we actually start pumping up again. On the other hand, as the dollar is losing strength, usually, I say usually, this could imply that the other markets are going to start to go up, because as the dollar is getting less and less strong, the other markets, without changing their volume, price and demand, offer and demand, is just going to dictate that they should be doing stronger. But this is okay. I hope this is okay for me to say now, because we're already way into the stream. This is where we talk a little more closely. For all those who have been following till now, thank you very much. What I've been expecting is that E-mini futures, the stock market, all the traditional markets have been doing really well, not only because of the dollar losing strength, but also investors and institutions being actually sponsored to reinvest and to buy up stocks. Now, as election day is closing in, a lot of insecurity in the matter of, is this financial easing and is all this stimulus is going to stop? Those people are trying to get their money out first. Now, on the S&P 500, we can already see that the S&P is having a major red day. Right now, we could argue that this low on the RSI, well, check nugget. I'm really sorry about this. I did call my ISP provider yesterday. They claim that the line is completely working normally, nothing is wrong, but yeah. Basically, it's not that bad because this was the first interruption on this stream, but yeah, a lot of you are thinking this is unacceptable, and I'm even writing down the time of the interruption because they really need to figure this out. We pay good money for a good signal, and this is it. So where did I leave off? Yeah, the S&P 500. So again, on the higher time frames, this formation here, I'm going to zoom in. Again, I'm going to zoom in so you see it more clearly. This formation here, I'm not really sure about calling this a local low. Even here on the price, this looks more like a continuation of a trend and not really a local low. So if we want to take this area as a local low, that means that price could still be going down a lot more before we start entering into a reversal signal, like a bullish signal. And just let's have a look and see how low price needs to go, or yeah, where we would start seeing a reversal pattern, if any. RSI is here sitting at 35. Let's just call it 35 and round it off, because we need to be below it. To get RSI lower than this area, price would need to drop to 3,261, which actually for major markets, they call this a breakdown. They really call this like a very bad day, just like we had here from September down to September. This was a very bad year for all major markets, especially the Fortune 500 companies. So yeah, right now, continuation of the downtrend. Some people say that Bitcoin is actually decoupling from the major markets, and this would make total sense if the bigger players, institutions, aggregated investors are stepping out of their large positions that made them 10x since April this year to now. This is really a lot of money, especially thinking about all the stimulus, all the trillions and trillions of dollars they've been pumping into this. It could be that right now Bitcoin is still going to outperform the major markets because the dollar losing in strength, and now larger players starting to take out their money from their stock portfolio. Let's have a last look at gold, and this is going to be the last one, then I'm going to shut up and leave you guys to it. Gold is for now basically sitting pretty nice on a larger frame. We did have some retests of this higher box area. We are sitting on this little outlying node, and now a lot is to be played again. Do we see any kind of divergences here? On this point and this point, we do see a bearish divergence. Let's mark them off. This area also bounced off of this node, so this makes a lot of sense. Right now is the question, are we going to find support, and are we going to use it, or is gold going to use it to move back up? There is going to be quite some selling pressure in this entire area, or is gold also going to have a bad series of events, a bad series of days, and start moving down? Remember, always remember, on the stock market, this is the gold price on paper. In case of a real crisis, the price of physical gold and gold on paper do decouple as well. So if you are thinking about investing in gold, rather look for physical gold than to be looking for gold on paper, because this is also being traded on the major markets. If the major markets start shutting down because S&P 500 is crashing, because E-mini futures is crashing, then the markets for gold are also going to close down. So keep all these things in mind before right now thinking about trading traditional markets. But those are really nice indicators. Those are things that we like to look at, because this also gives an overall better idea of the health of the complete economy. So, I'm going to leave it with all this. I hope you guys have a little bit of a plan in mind when it comes to trading Bitcoin for today. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see how it happens, how it turns out, and then tomorrow we will be back on the same channel for an update, and yeah, we're gonna see what happens. Thank you guys for watching. Remember, you can support the channel by using the affiliate link, join our VIP Discord group, have a look at the website. It's on ByBit, wolvesofbybit.com. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be there, be square.